We don't necessarily know what makes anyone pack their bags and come to South Africa.
It's enough now. We are also refugees now. We are also asylum seekers in our own country. No, we need a break.
Contrary to what you're seeing on the media, South Africans are not xenophobic. Contrary to what you're seeing in the media. Now, that statement sounds a blasty statement, especially because of some of the things you would have seen online. I'm not saying that there are no xenophobic people in South Africa. That's not what I'm saying. I'm simply saying the entire nation is xenophobic would be missing the point. There are 65 million people in South Africa. We have 11 official languages. We're one of the most diverse societies in the world, and even though that is the case, we get along with most people. If you go and look at the largest companies in South Africa and the CEOs or boards of those companies, you will find that the CEOs or boards or C-suite executives are many people from the rest of Africa. So I think I felt that it was important for me to say that. The second point I want to make is this. I think that there is an agenda to turn us against each other. And I think we feed that agenda when we feed the noise and the fire. And so what I'd like to think we can do is to reach across the divide, have actual conversations, understand what's happening, as they say in Kenya, qua ground, on the ground, so we can find each other.
These people fled from their countries because of the political climate, whatever it is. We don't necessarily know what makes anyone pack their bags and come to South Africa, but it is always for a political reason, although of course we have lots of criminals who also take advantage of that fact. It becomes a problem to actually make pronouncements and say that it is all okay. It's not. We seem to need to go back to the drawing board on a lot of issues. Especially such as the porous borders we have in South Africa. How do we control this type of flooding the country with foreigners?
There's two sides to this story, and this is what you talk about fairness. So let's mention, for example, the economic impact that shows, our own statistics South Africa show, that each immigrant that is having a business here employs at least 3 to 4 people, contributes taxes. Nobody ever talks about that. We never talk about the dysfunctionality of Home Affairs in terms of its documentation crisis, where most people who are deemed, quote, illegal are simply without documentation. We don't talk about the 4 million South African citizens who are undocumented, who have to wait years for their documentation. What about them? What about, it's a documentation crisis, it's a systemic crisis. And what we're saying is, we recognize, I wonder why, for example, there was no mention of the Kopanang African Xenophobia March, which happened 2 weeks ago in this very city with hundreds and hundreds of people with exactly the different kind of message. We don't talk about these things. So we're creating a very similar kind of thing to the United States, which is this anger that is then directed towards those who, by the way, built this city that we're very much in. Migrants built this city from Mozambique and Zimbabwe, miners who worked here, who created much of the wealth of the city we live in. And now we're trying to blame them for all of these ills, when in fact, if we start looking at the factual information about joblessness, there's no statistical evidence, there's no evidence that suggests the foreign nationals are taking away many jobs. What we have is we have a macroeconomic policy that basically privileges corporate capital and big investments and doesn't support small-scale township economies. So if, for example, you even kick out all the sponsor shop owners tomorrow and say all the foreign nationals are in, and every single South African citizen, would those small-scale businesses survive because of our own policies? No. You ask a South African sponsor shop owner, they're facing exactly the same problems. So instead of making this an immigration, foreign citizen issue, we should make it a governance issue, a policy issue, and politicians have a lot to answer for, because that's where people are protesting. Water, electricity, education, health, housing. Those can't be blamed on foreign nationals, who make up, by the way, less than 4% of our population.
So we don't want to be diplomatic, bafowethu asifuni ukuba part nendawo ngalento. Abantu bokufika abahambe silungise izwe. Mana sis almost wonke umuntu okufika ola eSouth Africa njengamanje kusukela ngo2008 kuza manje onikezwe uHome Affairs amaphepha illegal noma enamaphepha illegal because bebethatha imshini behambe lento beyoyenza endlini. Wena ungathola ukuthi ushadile siswami, ungathola ukuthi ushade nomuntu ongamazi. So sithi ke thina uHome Affairs right now 80 officials are arrested, 25 senior officials are in jail for manipulating the system. So whoever has been given papers, kunomuntu uyazi ukuthi umuntu wangaphandle can have a South African ID, but they do have. Because kuthathwa wena ungazi, kuthathwe umuntu oshonile, ashadiswe nomuntu eshonile njalo, ashadiswe nomuntu banikezwe certificate, badayisa amapasi namhlanje abantu baseHome Affairs 25,000 rand. So noma ngabe unawo amaphepha illegal ngoba isystem i-process ayenzekanga kahle. Sithi thina singama South Africans bafowethu, ningabafowethu base Mozambique, ningabafowethu base Nigeria, ningabafowethu base Zimbabwe. By the way, there are no wars in their countries, so they can't be flooding the country like this. If we are saying
and Lesotho and Botswana, because we are Chamba.
No, ngilinde ba. No. We are discussing. We open this discussion because we want to have a closure. So ke sithi ke bafowethu isystem idlale ngani, laba abantu bebentshontsha imali zenu, bebenikhokhisa imali okungafanele niyikhokhe. Sicela nisihloniphe, sicela niphume ezweni, sifuna ukulungisa imingcele yethu, sifuna ukulungisa abaholi bethu, ebese manibuya sesino minister baka Home Affairs no nama officers aka Home Affairs nama border control aka Home Affairs. Sesazi ase border control, sesazi ukuthi laba abantu abalapha bathembeke njengomkhwanazi. Singazi ukuthi mangibhekele umkhwanazi esemva kwami ngiyazi ayikho into ezokwenzeka kimi. So ke seningabuya ke bafowethu oza neskile singekho eSouth Africa akeze.
Which other country do we ever get involved when they are enforcing their laws? Which other country has an immigration crisis where millions of people are just flocking in, unknown, undetected, compromising their lives, compromising the safety of their people? If you can name that African or even world country that has that problem, then maybe we can have a talk and answer that question. For now, I'm not going to answer on what the world thinks about a problem that they're not dealing with. We're the ones dealing with this problem, not the world.
I'm in Indonesia right now, and almost every job here is reserved for Indonesians only, strictly. You can go to every restaurant you go out here, you're only going to see Indonesian people working there. Businesses as well. Most businesses are strictly for Indonesians, from cafes, spaza shops, or they call them marts here, all the way to, you can name it. Most businesses, basically, clinics, hospitals. If you want to own those kind of businesses, you might have to involve a local to be part owner of this business. Land in Indonesia, you cannot buy land, or rather in Bali specifically, there's no freehold as much. So you have to lease the land from the government through the owner for, I think, about 25 to 30 years. Why nobody is out there screaming these people are xenophobic? Not a single person. And you have all types of immigrants here, from Americans, Africans, Europeans. Everybody enjoy this island. They love it. Not a single one ever call Indonesia to be xenophobic. Why is it wrong then for South Africans to demand the same of their own government, to say, hey, we don't want foreigners to be owning businesses here that we would be owning ourselves? What's wrong with people demanding the government to put them first? I live in the UAE, in Dubai, and there is a clear difference between a local and a foreigner. The locals have immense amount of privileges in healthcare, education, and so on. The foreigners, not so much. You have to basically pay for everything. Not a single person has a problem with that. But somehow, if South Africans demand for the very same thing, they're being called xenophobic. Like, make it make sense. Everybody goes to all these countries with strict laws that protect local populations. But every single time South Africans just stand up to demand for these things, it's a problem. Now, this is a general topic in the media right now, but I don't understand what's hard for the South African government to actually put laws in place that prioritize their own citizens. because it's the only way you can give them an upper hand and make them feel heard and taken care of. Saudi Arabia does it, the UAE does it, Indonesia does it, most countries do this. There's nothing wrong with putting your citizens first. Foreigners maybe don't need to be getting free healthcare. In America, American citizens don't even have free healthcare. They have to pay for it. Maybe you can have healthcare only for citizens and then everyone else have to pay. When we travel to other countries with these same laws, we basically abide by those laws and we have no problems with it. What's wrong with South Africans asking for it? What's wrong with asking for law and order and good service? It's lazy and unaccountable to just use the word xenophobia without really addressing the issue at hand.
We have led the fight against illegal immigration every step of the way. We are partnering with organizations like March and March and Operation Bhut'omdala so that the fight against illegal immigration is waged in our country until we win that battle. And we have proposed an amendment to the Constitution of our country to say that South Africa cannot belong to all who live in it. South Africa must belong to South Africans.